Hi there, Malcolm here with my 129th Booktube video, and today I'll be bringing you my June wrap-up and July TBR. Good number of books to get through, so let's get cracking. First up, I finished reading Soulbinder by Sebastian de Castell to my wife. This is part of the Spellslinger series, book 4 to be precise, continuing the adventures of Kellen, failed mage, as he tries to survive. As this is book 4, there's not an awful lot I can mention in this one without giving away spoilers, but for various reasons he is doing this adventure largely on his own. He's usually accompanied by his business partner, Squirrel Cat Voracious. But like I say, in this one he goes it alone and finds out a little bit more about the curse that he has, the Shadow Black. Now, on the one hand, this book has taken on a fresh take by having Kellen hang out with some different people, with different dynamics. But I did miss the banter that he had with his usual companions. But aside from that, it was a really good story, really enjoyed it. The series has maintained its quality by it. And after that was my book of the month, which was Firefly Life Signs by James Lovegrove. This is the 5th book of the series and so far the last one. I have done an individual video on this, so I'll leave a link to that below if you want to go see what I thought of that. My only comment on it is that it's not hugely available, and so I had to read a library copy rather than get my own, hence the image and not waving about at you. And after that, I then finished reading The Colour of Magic by Terry Pratchett to my boys. This is book 1 of the Discworld series. Having read the Tiffany Aching series to the boys, I thought they'd be ready to go into the main series proper. Didn't know where to start, so I started at the beginning. Now, if you're new to Discworld, if you're new to Terry Pratchett, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this book. It wasn't his debut novel, but certainly one of his early ones. He didn't really know what he was doing. This has no plot to speak of. Failed wizard Rincewind and the Discworld's first tourist, Two Flower, bumble around the disc, going from place to place, one mishap to the next. You know, it's not even a journey, it's just a succession of events. It's got some great characters in here, the humour's quite good, you know, not a bad start to a 40 book plus series, but ironically not necessarily the best place to start. However, the boys really enjoyed it, I always love reading it again, so if you haven't read it, read it, or even better, buy it. I know the humour's not for everyone, it is very British and satirical, but great stuff. And after that I read Mindhunter, an Aliens, Predator, Witchblade and Darkness crossover, where I can't really tell you what it's about because none of it makes any sense. I didn't even know there was a previous book to this. I've had this in my collection for a while, I've read it a few times. The artwork is glorious, bounces off the page very happily. It's just the plot makes no sense and it's a big pile of nonsense really. But I would say it's worth reading. It's pretty to look at. It's also not too long. And then I read Alien vs Predator Thrill of the Hunt. This is a tie-in graphic novel to the film. Or when I say tie-in, it's got some links to the film. We're in the future, on another planet, and there's one of those pyramids from the film. There we are, that's it, that's the similarity. That's the tie-in, that's the relevance. And what follows is a pretty basic rehashing of the original Aliens vs Predator story. It's alright, nothing special particularly. The artwork is alright, and I've seen people complain about the artwork quite a lot. Yeah, it's not great, but I've seen a lot worse. I didn't care about any of the characters, but it was worth reading, I suppose. It didn't bore me, and I was able to follow the story, so there we go. And then I read StarCraft Evolution by Timothy Zahn. This is set after the 3 StarCraft 2 games. I'm only about halfway through the 3rd one, so this was a little bit spoilerish for the games for me. Not hugely, it doesn't give you exact details, but things have happened that I didn't know about yet. But the story itself was alright. It had a whole bunch of new characters in it, including some from the game. They're none of the main characters. What I did like was the original story ideas, the stuff that the games and the other books haven't covered yet, so it's good to see something new. And there was a good level of action and intrigue. I think the only thing that really got to me was the almost teenage angst that the ghost character was going through. You know, there's a lot of inner monologue about what other people are thinking about her and this and that, and I just found it a little bit irritating. Could have been handled a little bit better. I mean, I've read Timothy Zahn before, particularly in the Star Wars, with Mara Jade and co. They're written much better than this one. I have no regrets that I bought it. And after that, I then finished reading Freeglader by Paul Stewart and illustrated by Chris Riddle. This is part of the Edge Chronicles and book 3 of the Rook Barkwater sequence. Yes, this is the culmination of the 3 books following Rook Barkwater as he and his Freegladers are trying to settle down in a nice, peaceful community, and there's a big bad that wants to come and destroy everything. Except they crop up really early in the story, and then you completely forget about them until right near the end. Something that the 2nd book did as well. You know, there's a big bad going to happen. There's a whole bunch of things that take place in between all the foreshadowing, and then right at the end you get the big battle. So I didn't find it flowed that smoothly. It also deals with some of the characters, such as Xanth, who, of all the characters, has had certainly the most interesting story arc. But my son enjoyed it, and the pictures are well worth looking at. Now, worth reading to a child. And after that, I then read a whole bunch of graphic novels I got from the library. So first two are books 1 and 2 of the Outcast series by Robert Kirkman, A Darkness Surrounds Him and A Vast and Unending Ruin. Now most of you will know Robert Kirkman from the Walking Dead series. This one's a little bit different. In this one there's a whole bunch of what appears to be demon possessions, and you have this one reluctant hero type who seems to be able to hurt the demons or even exorcise them. And that's pretty much the story. This town is being besieged by some dark force, and a priest and this chap team up to try and stop it. Except he's very reluctant about it. He's got a dark past with his family who are possessed. And the majority of these two books is spent just looking at people, looking at their lives and their interactions, their worries, their hopes, their fears, their dreams. And there's not an awful lot of action. A lot of talking, a lot of staring morosely into the middle distance. So one could say this is a bit of a slow burner. Others might say it's boring. I really enjoyed them. The artwork was a bit bland and washed out, but really set the mood of the story, or particularly of the main character. And I must say I was quite surprised by them, and would actually consider the series worth buying, so far anyway. Eager to get my hands on book 3. Bit of a cliffhanger at the end of book 2. The next two books are from Marvel, and they're the Jessica Jones Alias series, books 2 and 3, Come Home, and The Underneath. Read book 1 a couple of months ago, but I enjoyed it. So Jessica Jones is a former superhero with super strength who's hung up her super suit and is now being a private investigator. And this is just a series of private investigations that she goes on. In Come Home, there's a girl that goes missing and she has to go and find her. And of course, there's a lot more going on than just that. I already can't remember what The Underneath is about. It was good, I remember that, but I really couldn't tell you what it was. But it's another investigation. But as well as being a private detective and being on these investigations, it also deals with fame, interacting with people who have a predisposition about who you are and what you are. You know, some hunger toward the fame, a lot more critical of the fact that you're not actually human or one of them. So some really interesting confrontations, dealing with all sorts of people's attitudes, and the investigations themselves are quite good too. Now I'd say Come Home is worth reading, and The Underneath is worth buying, which is really ironic because I can't remember the plot of that one at all. But there you go, good stuff, worth having a look. And then finally, I've read Alien vs Predator Civilized Beasts, which is a follow-up of Thrill of the Hunt, which continues the adventures on this planet with these aliens and predators and people. But they've got to do another thing, and of course there's secrets, there's corporation, deceit, a lot of stuff we've seen before. Again, nothing particularly new or original, but the artwork is passable and the story didn't bore me. So I would say it's worth reading. Technically tied into the film, but again, there's a pyramid there and that's about it. But I would say they're more of an AVP memorabilia collector piece rather than something to read. But worth reading if you can be bothered. Well, that's what I've read. What am I going to read? July's book of the month is going to be my library book, and that is Raft by Stephen Baxter, his debut novel, and the book that kicks off all his Zeely stories. Following a star miner called Reese, who is looking at the existence around and thinking there's something very wrong with it, and discovering that he and his people have been existing for 500 years in a bubble universe where gravity is 1 billion times stronger than in our reality. That sort of goes on from there, really. Been trying to get my hands on a copy of this for a long time. It's never in a bookshop. I was really excited to find this in a library, so giving it a go. Because then I can finally get on with the Zeely sequence, because I like to read things in chronological order. After that, I'll then move on to finishing Berserk by Michael Grant, which looks at a nanotechnology where there's a conspiracy to infect the brains of the world leaders with these nanobots and rewiring them to an alternative way of thinking. And 2 recently bereaved kids are conscripted in to help with the fight. And so there we go, lots of very tiny things and big problems. And after that, there'll be the novelisation of the film Men in Black by Steve Perry. So if you know the film Men in Black, here it is in book form. Curious to know the differences. And then after that, to be Empire of Gold by Andy McDermott, part of the Wild Chase series. Lots of high-octane archaeological adventures with guns and explosives and deaths and killings. Really exciting, fun stuff, and quite a big book to get through. Now, if you see my previous TBR pile, you'll notice that the last 3 books all featured in that one as well. I've really struggled reading books at the moment. I've been getting through graphic novels or finishing or reading stuff to other people quite happily, but reading my own stuff has been a bit problematic for some reason. So it's taken a lot longer to get through things than I wanted to. But presuming I do get through all that, I'll also move on to The Devil Colony by James Rowlands, which is part of the Sigma Force series. I've actually lent this book to a friend for a while, and so I read all these other standalone books during that time. I've got it back, I finished reading the standalones, and so back to the series again. Really good stuff, more archaeology and explosives. Perhaps a little bit more intelligent than the Andy McDermott, but just as good. Provided I get through all that, I'm still trying to finish this bloody book. Star Wars, The Black Fleet Crisis Book 3, Tyrant's Test by Michael P. Kubi McDowell. I really want to finish this by the end of the month. Just get it out of the way, ready for the holidays. so I could read some other Star Wars. See previous videos to see what I thought about these. Having finished all my Aliens, Terminator, Predator, Star Wars graphic novels, now been hunting around the house what else I could read. There's Saltier Invasion, the world's first Scottish superhero. I've not read that one yet, so give that one a go. 28 Days Later, The Aftermath. Had this one for quite a while. Had them both for quite a while. Never read it. Really enjoyed the film, so give that a go. And when I've done that, I'm then going to plan my way through my Asterix series. I've not read these for a long time. Really love Asterix, and so I'm going to read them chronologically for the first time now that I have the technology to know what the order is, because the order that they're numbered in is not their chronological order. Okay, I knew Asterix and Gaul was the first one, but beyond that it was a bit of a, I don't know. It's a Belgium comic strip that was collected up and translated beautifully. Full of lots of humour and puns and in-jokes and caricatures. Really love the series. So it's going to be lots of them coming up soon. And also read to everyone else in the household. So to my oldest, I am still reading Lion Adventure by Willard Price. To my youngest, I'm now reading The Curse of the Gloamgloser by Paul Stewart, illustrated by Chris Riddle, again part of the Edge Chronicles and book one of the Quint series. Very much a prequel, or chronologically the first book in the series. My son's picked the reading order, not me. No idea what this one's about. When I'm short on time, I read to them both at the same time. And we've moved on to The Light Fantastic by Terry Pratchett, book 2 of the Discworld series, and the direct sequel to The Colour of Magic, furthering the adventures of Rincewind and Twoflower. We're already about halfway through, and I can say this is much funnier than the first book. And then finally, I'm reading Dune by Frank Herbert to my wife. The film's coming out soon, and we want to try and read the book before then. I have read it before when I was about 14. Really don't remember most of it, so it's might as well be reading it for the first time, to be honest. Reading some good old-fashioned sci-fi. Well, there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. What I'm reading, what I have been reading, what I'm going to be reading, what I might get around to reading at some point. And sure enough, there'll be other things thrown in there as well, which I hadn't anticipated at this point. So if you have any comments or questions about any of the books I've just shown you, then feel free to comment below. And do you have any book series that you read when you were a child that you just really would love to reread again? As usual, if you have nothing nice to say, then please keep it to yourself. Thank you, and until next time, see you later.